I need to start out this review with two facts. First, I love roguelites. They are an extremely fun and replayable genre, and most new iterations and releases come up with new and exciting changes and features. Whether you play them casually for a few runs, or you devote hundreds of thousands of hours into them, people from all different gaming backgrounds can typically find enjoyment. Fact number two, I am not good at deck builders. Now, that isn't to say that I'm not a fan of typical deck builders like Slay the Spire or alternate takes like Dicey Dungeons. I just typically struggle with the strategy. Just keep that in mind when I'm talking about the topic of this review, Tamarak Trail. Spoilers, I enjoy it, I'm just really bad at it. It felt fitting to mention both Slay the Spire and Dicey Dungeons, as Tamarak Trail is a dice builder, in the literal sense that you receive dice faces and slap them onto your assortment of 6-sided dice. Now, with that out of the way, I'd like to give thanks to Yarrow Games, Versus Evil, and Tiny Build for the opportunity to cover this title. Let's jump in and see what this game is really about. This review will focus pretty heavily on the gameplay mechanics of Tamarak Trail, as often in roguelites, there isn't much attention on other potential components that make up games. I'd still classify this game as a deck builder, even though you don't deal with cards at all. When you begin your run, you start out with 2 dice, each filled with 6 sides of various types of attacks and defensive abilities. There isn't much to do here to start, but it is important to note that the faces of your dice are interchangeable, meaning you can add a variety of characteristics and styles that you can use to enhance your chance of survival. When you step on your first combat node, you will start by rolling your 2 dice, which will lead to you having the option to use the ability that they landed on. You'll have the choice to use your limited energy pool to activate one of these dice, or you could choose not to use them at all, which in turn will increase the amount of energy you regenerate after your turn ends. This is where the strategy begins to come into play. While you're staring at your 2 dice, you'll notice that there are enemies who are patiently waiting to launch their assault. Most of these enemies will notate their next move, whether it's to hit you with some damage, protect themselves with a shield, or cause some sort of altering effect. Your goal is to end them before they end you. Sounds straightforward? Well, it is and it isn't. In Tamarak Trail, your energy that you use to activate your dice is also used as a protection meter. This meter is a critical component to survival as it protects your life nodes from depleting. Every strike that an enemy makes on you will first reduce your protection until it hits 0. Each strike thereafter will reduce your life nodes one after another. It's a very interesting concept as it makes your character feel like a glass cannon. On one hand, you have to launch attacks if you want to finish the battle, as there's no way to run from your enemy. That being said, the only other way to end battle is death, which we are avidly avoiding. The constant crisis of deciding whether or not you should attack or just save your dice to increase your energy regen in preparation for an enemy attack definitely pushes this game into a new difficulty tier. Some of the fights I felt like were a mathematical impossibility, and while I can attribute that to poor dice management, I would occasionally lose my run in the first few battles. However, I did find myself in runs that went decently long into the journey, so I'll contribute my failure to poor knowledge and strategy. After each battle, if you decide to survive, you're offered the chance to choose from 3 dice faces. This is where you get to begin planning how you want to formulate your run. There are a variety of different playstyles. You can focus on causing your enemies to bleed and take massive damage over time. You can reduce the amount of damage they do, potentially making them even do 0 damage. You can create infinite loops by fitting your dice with flip faces. There is a lot of possibility here, and even more faces become available after leveling up from finishing or dying in your runs. You need to be aware of the cost to activate each dice face. Some of the abilities cost 0 to 1 energy, making them a low-cost use. However, there are some that can cost upwards of 4 to 5 at a base value, but they are oftentimes very powerful. Again, glass cannon. I should also note that you can either throw dice one by one or throw them all at the same time. There's actually some strategy around this as well. Some dice come with unique abilities that become stronger depending on how many other dice they bump into before being used. The downside to this is it usually increases their cost as well. Some abilities gain no advantage at all if they bump into another dice and only increase their cost, so you should be extremely careful in your limited rolling space. After each boss battle, you'll gain an extra dice, boosting your total from 2 to 3 to 4, you get the point. You'll find yourself spoiled with loads of abilities that can stack on dice. You always want to make sure that you have some form of defense available, then load up one dice with only shielding capabilities. Do you believe that offense is the best defense? Then toss out all of your defense and go straight power. This game is very versatile and provides many outlets for different styles of play. The last area that I want to cover is the hub in between runs. I haven't had a chance to fully explore what it has to offer, but essentially it provides useful upgrades and unlocks that will increase your capabilities when you set off on the Tamarak Trail. I love roguelikes for this exact reason because I enjoy a sense of progression and boosting my starting power so that I can reach new heights than ever before. It also looks like you can unlock 2 additional characters, but I have yet to reach that point in the game. That about covers my experience with Tamarak Trail. If you enjoy deck builders and the strategy behind them, then this game might be for you. It plays very similarly to how you progress through Slay the Spire, but it puts all your firepower into your 6-sided friends. I love the ability to customize my dice with new abilities and effects. That being said, the game could be quite unforgiving at times, which, as I mentioned, I'm not the best at deck builders. However, at some points, I don't really see how any player could have gotten themselves out of the trouble. Oh well, I suppose I'll have to keep playing to improve, and I definitely plan to, which is why I'm giving Tamarak Trail the Pillowfort stamp of approval. Hopefully you'll check it out. If you have already had the opportunity to play, let me know if you ran into the same difficulties as I did in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing so that you can stay up to date on our latest content.